Welcome to Miracle Mondays with Rae Lashea. I'm your favorite Miracle Mondays host. I'm like, come on, the rice. IG. Yes. We have a great guest today, Miss Margo McKenzie, who is a travel specialist. And she is joining us now. In the meantime, please visit me at www.lessproblemsmoremiracles.com. That's lessproblemsmoremiracles.com. Put your email address in there so that you can get the free PDF Miracle Makers Roadmap. And also check out the books that I have. You Are a Star, children's book. Black Geisha, adult erotica novel, and 52 Weeks of Miracles, spiritual growth, and personal development journal. So, if you would please help me welcome Miss Margo McKenzie from Luxury Travel. Hi, Margo.
Hello, Rae. How are you? And happy Monday.
Thank you. Happy Monday to you. How are you?
I am wonderful. Great. And you?
Wonderful. Thank you so much for being here with us.
You're welcome. I'm excited. Thank you. Thank you for inviting me.
So, to start, let's just let the people know who you are and what you do.
Okay. My name is Margo McKenzie. I am a mother first of one college son. And I'm an entrepreneur. I own a daycare. And I am a travel specialist as well.
How long have you had your daycare?
This will be my 10th year in November. Will be 10 years.
How did the pandemic affect your daycare?
You know, it's funny. It affected the travel agency more than the daycare. Fortunately, a lot of my parents were first responders or in the medical field, so my children still needed care. So fortunately, originally I lost, right in the beginning of the pandemic, around March or April, I think I lost about half my kids. But that was because of the unknown. People weren't sure what was going on, how to stop this, from spreading, where the kid's going to get sick. But once they had a little bit of check on it, what was going on, slowly my kids started coming back. So it didn't affect the daycare as much as it affected the travel.
So let's talk travel. So how long have you been a travel specialist, and what exactly is a travel specialist?
I have been a travel specialist since 2017. And basically what it is, I put together travel for a customer. I try to get as much information as I can from them and put this trip together that is going to be a lifetime experience for them. And so it takes a lot of planning, no mistakes, hopefully, but, but again, once the pandemic happened, so for 2 years I was, business was good. Things were moving right along. March of 2020, when the pandemic hit, it was chaotic. So I couldn't even prepare for what was about to take place. So it was a full year of chaos for me, and business was bad. But I kept going. I wasn't going to give up. And, now back into 2021, going into 2022, it's definitely picked up a lot better.
Because first of all, aside from it coming to an absolute halt,
Yes.
But there were, I'm sure, trips that were already booked that were now being canceled or put on hold, and everything that goes along with that.
And trying to correct that. So the trips that were already booked, um, trying to get through to the airports, to the vendors, to the airlines, the hotels, the cruises. Oh, was a nightmare. It was. I mean, 4.5 hours on the phone with a vendor trying to just to get through, just to be able to talk to a person.
Right.
And then there were still issues after that. So, and people were panicking. And I understand, some trips, some of these trips are big expenses. And so, people were panicking, and rightfully so. I understood it. And it got to the point for me, trying to hold it together. People were calling and calling and calling. Most everyone was understood. So, I didn't really have an issue with that because people understood what was going on. But getting people's money back, the confusion, because at that point, airlines didn't know what were they giving refunds, because this had never happened.
Right.
And even people with the travel insurance, like, because the travel insurance wasn't covering the pandemic. So it was a problem.
Airlines quickly changed and insurance companies quickly changed their rules.
Yeah, exactly.
They no longer, it didn't matter for pandemic. Like, wait, what?
No, the rules changed immediately.
Yeah.
And which wasn't fair either. So, yeah, but it was a lot of work, and it was stressful. It was stressful.
Right.
you know.
Let me welcome a few people who joined us today. Dimples Hard 21, Donna, Aaliyah Machete, who will be a guest on here, I believe, next week. So tune in for that, a new author. Cinderella and Vicky Ficklin. Welcome to Miracle Mondays with Rae Lashea. Oh, Gabriella of the Square joined. Welcome to Miracle Mondays with Rae Lashea. I'm here every Monday with an exciting and phenomenal guest. Today I have Margo McKenzie, who is a travel specialist and a daycare provider, owner, entrepreneur. We're just talking a bit about how the pandemic affected some of, and the reason I ask specifically, of course, we're talking about your businesses, but there are people on here who are entrepreneurs or who are endeavoring to be entrepreneurs. And, we know it can be very lucrative, but it's not always glamorous.
Right, it's not. First, I want to say hi. I see my niece is watching, Taylor, and I see cousin Vicky is also watching. I want to say hi to both of them.
So here's a question. Why would somebody want to use, or should someone use, a travel specialist instead of going through something like Expedia or Orbitz, or just booking it on their own?
Well, the number one thing is, especially after the pandemic, you had a person to go to. I mean, literally, if you didn't have the time to sit on the phone and request those refunds and go through all the red tape and the paperwork, you were putting a lot of time into that. So that, after the pandemic, I would recommend everyone to use a travel agent. In addition to, there's a lot of perks that people don't understand that you can get from a travel agent. The upgrades, there's just so many things that companies, vendors offer agents to entice their travelers. So there's a lot of things that you wouldn't get on your own. Of course, you can go to Expedia. You're never going to talk to a live body on, those are the things that you have to keep in mind. I'm always available. If you touch down in your destination and something goes wrong, you can call me, pretty much anytime and get a person. You're not going to get that with Expedia and all those other online travel agents. So I think that's the number one thing. But even the perks, like I said, cruises offer amazing perks to travel agents for their guests, because They want to entice you to come. They give, and we're buying large amounts of travel, So the perks are definitely up there. But I can't stress enough, after 9/11, I wouldn't imagine having to call 2 or 3 or 4 vendors, spending 3 or 4 hours on the phone with each vendor. And of course, the funny thing is, you get right to the beginning of the line, and an agent picks up the phone, hello, and now you're disconnected, and you have to start that process all over again. So if you have the time, fine, but that's the job of the agent, to take care of all those issues for you. So.
And so some people are solo travelers, some people travel in big groups, some are couples. Is that a problem, or is there something that you cannot do if someone comes to you with travel requests?
Nothing. There's pretty much nothing I can't do. I was a solo traveler. I used to travel solo often. So solo travelers, and a lot of people are afraid, especially women, right? Women are afraid to travel solo. So I try to encourage that to, even to just friends of mine that, don't travel to, but because if people believe, how dangerous it is, I don't know why, where that came from, but the danger in traveling solo. But there's nothing that I can't do, that I wouldn't do. Everything is a challenge. I love putting together these special trips for people. I love it. It was something that I've done even for my own self years ago. I just investigate, and I research until I find the best hotels, or the best airfare, or whatever your budget is, because everyone's budget is different. So, and those are the important things to get from a customer, a client, your budget. Where do you like to stay? Things that you like to do. I don't want to send you someplace with you and your husband, and then there's thousands of kids running around. So all those things, I love to do. I love to research those things, and I love to learn about new places and different places. So nope, there's nothing I can't do or wouldn't do.
Right. One thing I would suggest to everyone and anyone: get a passport. First of all.
Oh, absolutely.
Plan,
Immediately.
get the passport, have the passport. That's the key, and it opens up a lot of opportunity to go places. But also something you said, traveling alone. Oh yeah, I don't know where that fear comes. I have met some of the best people traveling, and as I used to tell my mom when she would worry about me traveling alone, I'd say strangers have taken better care of me abroad than
Your own people, right?
Domestically.
Exactly. Here in America is definitely different than traveling alone. And you meet great people. You meet wonderful people.
Yeah.
And before you know it, because I guess the idea of people think that you're going to be alone, you're going to be lonely, you don't want to talk to, or you feel uncomfortable. And the funny thing is, people talk. People just sit next to you, and a conversation starts, and now you're in this whole conversation. You meet new friends. I met someone, I'm going to say, well, I know it was 2004. I went away to Los Cabos, and I met a husband and wife was there. Her and I are still good friends till today.
Yeah.
So you meet wonderful people.
And I mean, there's some people, especially when you're solo travelers, they'll say, hey, where are you from? And right there, sometimes they'll invite you out for the dinner, or come over and
right.
with us, or and friendships, as you say, even long-term friendships, and sometimes travel buddies.
You meet travel buddies.
Yeah, that connection. So it's worth it, and you can start local and start moving further out once you feel comfortable. Let me welcome a few folks. No prob Bob, or something close to that. That's clever with the letters and numbers. Bratz 364, Lisa Brooklyn 11216. Welcome to Miracle Mondays with Rae Lashea. I'm here with Margo McKenzie, travel specialist extraordinaire. Gabrielle of the Square has a question, and she actually mentions that she missed working with agents. I guess as the pandemic has gone, we kind of things, and it's good to be reminded of this option. Do agents, this is her question, get paid from the consumer or the airline, hotel, vendor companies?
From the vendor. I mean, you're never gonna, what most time, no, all the time. I don't know of any, well, the vendor pays you. The airlines usually don't pay a commission. That's usually not, if I'm booking a trip and there's an airline, I'm usually just doing that, on my own, unless I tack on a fee, which normally, especially if they're friends, or normally I don't do that. I won't tack the fee on. I'll just book the airline for them. Because I don't mind, and like I said, I enjoy researching it. So it never bothers me to look and see, because guess what? I might see, something, and I can hop on quickly myself, and take that trip. So I never mind doing that. Airlines normally don't pay commission. Package deals, airfare, hotels, or hotels, resorts. That's where your commission comes from. And it ranges. It ranges from, 10% to 20%, depending on who the vendor is. So you're never adding on a price to your customer. There's not an additional fee to your customer, which makes it a no-brainer as well. It's not as though your customer is paying more to book with you. It's free. It's free to do. So I never understood why people say, well, I can do it myself for free. And I'm like, yeah, you can, but you can also use me for free too. So it really does. It's not a big deal. It's not anything extra for the consumer. What I would say though is, the problem comes in when you don't want to research for someone for days and weeks and months, and then they don't book the trip with you, because sometimes they're just trying to get that information. They'll go directly to the vendor and then book with the vendor. So you've done all this hours and hours of research. So I would just be careful with that. I mean, it happens, fortunately, it hasn't happened to me that often, but it has happened. And again, I've done the research, I've done the work, but it's really for the consumer, it's a no-brainer.
So that's a good piece of advice. First, for as consumers, don't have your agents out there doing all the work and then don't book with them. But then also, if somebody wants to become an agent, that's something that they should remember and think about. What advice would you give to anybody who is thinking about becoming a travel agent, travel specialist, concierge?
The first thing I would do is research. Like, research your host. And a host is someone who you are booking travel under. So though it's your business, and it is your business, you have to find a host, a travel host, and there's hundreds, thousands of them out there. So you have to kind of just go online, do some research, see what the host vendors offers, how much a commission will be for you, what's the monthly fee if it's anything, and it's usually very small. It's usually a nominal fee, like $9 a month. So when do they send their commission checks out? Because that's important. You want to know when you're going to get paid. But I think it's really the research. There's a website called, and I'm going to say this off the top of my head, but I believe it's www.hostreviews.com. And it's hundreds of reviews on different host agencies. And it's people like me that just go on there and talk about, I've worked for 2 host agencies since I've been doing travel. None is better than the other. It's just what you prefer. So the research is real important. And the big thing I would say to anyone looking to be a travel agent, you see it online all the time, on Facebook all the time, any groups that you're in, right? And someone's talking about being a travel agent, and then you see 10 other people chime in and say, hey, come with me, I can teach you how to be, and and it's $350. And don't do that. Don't do it. You don't need to do that. You need to find a host, research yourself, and deal directly with the host agency. You don't need, and there's so many host agency out there for the new traveler, for the new agent is they give so much education. So you're not just out there willy-nilly figuring it out. There's so much different host agencies offer so much education. So you don't need somebody to really take you under their wing unless you want that, you know, because when I started, like I said, I researched my own travel, but I didn't need someone to teach me, and you don't need it. It's unnecessary.
What advice would you give for the consumer who's looking for a specialist to work with?
Again, research. I always think their social media is important. How do they have a website? How are you getting in contact with them? Check out their reviews. They should have reviews too. If you are just, and here's the problem with some people, and I know this happens often. You go to someone and you ask them to book a trip for you, and they basically go to Expedia and they charge you. What they do is they'll charge you a fee. So they'll say it's going to cost you $200 to book the trip with me. But what they're doing is, and so you pay them the $200, and then they go to Expedia and they book, because they're not true travel agents. They don't have a license to sell travel. They're not under a host agency or have their own number, their own IOTA number. So just research. Make sure they're just not a person that's on Expedia booking a trip for you.
Right.
Yeah.
Like your friend can do that. You could pay your
Right,
friends
exactly.
to do that.
You can pay a friend to do that. And if you're going to pay, and it's an additional cost, because they're not getting commission from the vendor, they're getting commission from you, the consumer. So you're paying not only that, you could have just went on Expedia or whoever and booked it yourself, for that matter. Then if that's the case, do it yourself.
Right. London Tears, welcome. Sade, welcome. This is Miracle Mondays with Rae Lashea. I'm here with Margo McKenzie, who is a travel specialist, also a daycare provider. Before I ask you my final questions, I want to ask, for those people who may be interested in starting a daycare, what advice would you give them?
Starting a daycare, so it's going to depend on the state that you live in. I'm in New York. The first thing to do would be to go to your state, and you can probably go online and look for this and see what it looks like in your state to get a daycare license. Some states, recently it's changed. When I started years ago, it was a little simplified, but today it's definitely, and I'm speaking obviously for New York, it's definitely, hey Lisa, it's definitely harder now. So go to your state, find out what the fees are, find out what you need to get your license. What are the qualifications that you need to be a daycare provider? And like me, my daycare, I needed an assistant. So because of the number of children, there is a teacher to student ratio. So know what that is and know what your assistants. But I warn anyone of this. That was always my struggle, was finding the assistant. You know, lucky at the end, close to, lucky. A couple of years into it, I was able to get my nieces to help me out, so it went a lot smoother. And both of them are watching. Both of my nieces are watching. They saved me, because you get these unexpected visits from the state, unexpected. So all of a sudden they're knocking on your door and they want to come in. And if you don't have the right person there with you, those are violations on your license, because they look for everything they look for. So if you don't have the right people in your camp working for you, because, any mother knows that the number one most important thing in your life is your children, right? So, parents take you very seriously, and those assistants that you have will make you or break you.
Right. Okay.
Um, and it's great money. It's great money, but you have to love that job. You have to love it,
Yeah.
you
Don't you
know.
job you can do or business you can own just for the money.
Yeah, that can't
Children every day and
every
parents.
day. And you see, it's different because parents or women, right? Moms always say, anytime I had an assistant that was a mom, oh, I'm a mom, I have 3 kids. And I'm like, it's not the same. It's not the same because your children, you love them, you tolerate them, and you have lots of patience for them. But other children come with different nuances from their own families that you may not agree with. And so there's challenges that come with watching, teaching, caring for other people's children on a day-to-day basis. And when I first opened and I changed my hours, I was doing 12-hour days, and that was a burnout, you know. So be conscious of, be aware of that. And if you love it, it's a great business to own because entrepreneurship is not easy, you know. It's
Right.
not easy. So you have to love what you do or you won't make it some days.
Yeah, those hard times will wipe you out,
Yes, exactly.
literally and figuratively. Um, as we come to a close, where is your favorite destination in the world? And I know that's a loaded question because it's like there's a million
A
beautiful.
million places.
But if you had to choose one place that you could go to 1,000 times, where would that be?
Well, the one place that I would probably want to go back to a lot and I haven't been yet, and I was going, and I'm hoping that it will be 2022 with my fingers crossed, is South Africa. And so that's a place that I would probably continue to go back and visit different parts of Africa. That would be the place that I love to go to. Now I think my favorite place to go to in the world is Barbados.
Ah, okay. Yeah, that's a beautiful place.
I love Barbados, yeah.
What is a top destination for people when they travel or when they want to travel? Or where do you recommend if they don't really know where they want to go? Where would you recommend for them?
Um, if you're looking for, it depends on what you're looking for. So if you're looking for the Caribbean, I mean, there's so many beautiful islands in the Caribbean, right? Like you just can't pretty much go wrong anywhere in the Caribbean. Um, right now, doing uh, uh, a trip in here, and still in the U.S. A girlfriend of mine, a girlfriend and I are going to Arizona to do a spa trip. So, and those are beautiful, right? So, that's some place that I would recommend, especially a girls trip. I mean, but even husband and wives too. But I just think like a girls trip is going to be amazing. And um, Another place I think a lot of people are going to now is the Maldives. So that's a big place people are going to now.
Yeah. Where can people find you, get questions answered, get travel services? How can they find you?
Well, you can reach me on my website. It's www.luxtravel.com. I'm saying it wrong. www.luxurytravelbymvm.com, or on a cell phone number 516-725-3937. Those
Okay,
are probably the easiest way to reach me.
Luxury by MVM.
Right. Luxury Travel by MVM.
.com. I will put that in the write up when we're done. Um, I want to answer one question before we go. Gabriella asked about expiring passports. What I will just say, and if you're not going anywhere, just send it in like a month before it expires. But if you are going somewhere and it's going to be past the expiration date or coming close because they want you have to have your passport um, within still a month. You can't travel July of 2022 if it expires August 2022.
No, because it's actually 6 months.
Okay, so you would
It's
have
6 months.
to get it renewed in January of 2022 if you plan to be traveling, anytime for that year. But if
Right.
you're traveling, you just need to get it done and it's still with pandemic. I find that they're renewing passports pretty quickly, within 4 to 6 weeks, the regular.
Yeah, it really is because I took my son, just had to renew his, and it was literally 4 weeks when we got it back. I mean, and I heard people saying this number like 18 weeks, or I've seen this talk about 18 weeks. It's not true. I literally got my son's passport back in 4 weeks.
Yeah,
So it's still being done. It's not maybe 2020 that was happening, but now I think they're pretty much back on track now.
right, right. So, yeah, it's still pretty standard. Um, I want to thank you so much, Margo, for joining me today.
Thank you, Ray.
So much good info. You do have a trip coming. Your company is planning a trip for you have a few trips coming up. If you want to speak to that, and also speak to the Facebook group for people to join if you want.
Yep. So I have a Facebook group called Melanin Women of Wonderlust. Maybe you can put it up. And I post some trips for women on there. Our trip for St. Lucia's coming up in April, and Columbia is February. All the information is there, the prices, the dates, the times, what's included. So if you want to check that out, that's great. You can give me a call, and we can, if there's any other questions that you have, I'll be glad to answer those questions for you. Yeah, call me, and we can discuss it. Or even if it's not that and you're just looking for to talk about a great trip, or even to learn how to become a travel agent or a daycare provider, I'll take your call and help you if I can.
That's wonderful. So thank you. In the meantime, also, folks, please, you can follow me here at Rae Lashea. Also visit my website, www.lessproblemsmoremiracles.com. Put your email address in to receive the free PDF, Miracle Makers Roadmap. Also check out the books that I have. And join me here next Monday, 3 p.m. Pacific, 6 p.m. Eastern, when I'll have another amazing, fabulous, fantastic guest. Thank you again, Margo. I really appreciate you. It's so good to see you.
Same here. I'll see you soon, hopefully.
Yes, listen, I might even be able to make Columbia, but I'm definitely going to St. Lucia. So until next time, everyone, thank you for joining us, and have a miraculous week. Bye.
Bye-bye.